Imagine waking up in a world where surviving until sunset was considered a victory. No warm clothes, no houses, no medicine, no electricity, no supermarkets, and not even a simple match to start a fire. Just endless snow, violent winds, and temperatures so cold that every breath felt like tiny knives cutting through your lungs. Now ask yourself one question. How long would you survive? A week? A day? Or maybe not even one night? Around 20,000 years ago, during the last ice age, this wasn't imagination, it was reality. Most people think our ancestors spent every day running from giant predators. Others believe starvation was their greatest enemy, but both are wrong. The most dangerous killer of the ice age had no claws, no teeth, and made absolutely no sound. It was the cold, a silent predator capable of killing a perfectly healthy human long before hunger ever could. Yet somehow, our ancestors survived. But the choices they made were far darker than most people realize. Over the last few decades, archaeologists have uncovered discoveries that completely changed our understanding of prehistoric humans. Broken bones, mysterious shelters, hidden camps, and evidence of survival so desperate, it still shocks scientists today. But before we uncover those secrets, we first need to understand the world they lived in. Forget everything Hollywood has shown you about the Ice Age. This wasn't just a snowy winter. It was one of the harshest environments humans have ever faced. Massive glaciers covered huge parts of Europe, Asia, and North America. Temperatures remained below freezing for weeks. Trees became rare. Plants disappeared beneath snow. Animals constantly migrated in search of food. And if hunters failed to catch something, there was no backup plan. Every sunrise began with uncertainty. They find food? Would the weather change? Would everyone still be alive tomorrow? Nature decided everything. One mistake, one storm, one freezing night could erase an entire family. But despite living in this frozen nightmare, scientists discovered something that didn't make any sense, a mystery hidden beneath thousands of years of ice. It all started with broken bones. When archaeologists excavated ancient Ice Age camps across Europe, they kept finding the same strange pattern. Animal bones, hundreds of them, sometimes thousands. Almost every single one had been broken in exactly the same place. First, the explanation seemed obvious. Large predators like wolves and hyenas crush bones all the time. Maybe they had scavenged the remains after humans finished eating. It sounded convincing until researchers looked closer. Bite marks didn't match. The fractures were too clean, too precise, almost as if someone knew exactly where to hit. Then came the discovery that changed everything. Lying beside many of those bones were heavy stone hammer tools. Suddenly, the mystery had an answer. These bones weren't broken by predators. They were broken by humans. But that only raised an even bigger question. Why? Why spend precious time smashing open bones that looked completely empty? The answer was hidden inside. Deep inside every large bone was something prehistoric humans desperately needed: bone marrow, a thick, fatty tissue protected by solid bone. Today, most people throw bones away without thinking twice. But during the Ice Age, bone marrow was one of the most valuable foods on Earth. Why? Because fat meant survival. Protein could fill your stomach, but fat helped your body produce heat. And in a world where freezing to death was a daily threat, heat meant life. That's why ancient hunters wasted absolutely nothing. The meat was eaten. The skin became clothing, the tendons became rope, the antlers became tools, and finally, the bones were cracked open to reach the last hidden source of energy. To us, it seems extreme. To them, it was simply another day of staying alive. But as incredible as that discovery was, it wasn't the strangest thing archaeologists found. Because buried beneath the frozen earth, they uncovered enormous circles, built from the bones of giant beasts. And for years, no one knew why. Imagine standing in the middle of the Ice Age. The temperature is far below freezing. A violent wind is tearing across the open plains. You look around, there are no trees, no caves, nowhere to hide. So how did humans survive winters that could kill them in a single night? For years, scientists couldn't answer that question. Then archaeologists uncovered something extraordinary. Huge circles made almost entirely from mammoth bones, massive skulls, towering leg bones, curved tusks carefully placed into the ground. At first, Researchers thought these were ancient monuments, maybe religious sites, maybe strange rituals, but the deeper they dug, the clearer the picture became. These weren't monuments, they were homes. The mammoth's enormous bones formed the frame. Its thick hide acted like insulation against the freezing wind. Inside, a small fire created just enough warmth for an entire family to survive another brutal night. One mammoth didn't just provide food, it became clothing, tools, shelter, and hope. To us, a mammoth was a giant animal. To Ice Age humans, it was almost an entire civilization. But even a perfect shelter meant nothing if one tiny thing disappeared. Fire, the most valuable thing on Earth today. Fire is everywhere. One click and your stove turns on, one button, and your heater fills the room with warmth. But 20,000 years ago, fire was priceless. If your fire went out during a freezing night, you weren't just uncomfortable, you were in serious danger. Archaeologists have discovered ancient fireplaces used over and over again for generations. That tells us something remarkable. Humans didn't simply create new fires every day. They protected the ones they already had. A single glowing ember could keep an entire camp alive. Without fire, frozen meat became difficult to eat. Predators moved closer. Children became vulnerable. The freezing air slowly stole body heat. Fire wasn't just warmth. It was protection. It was food. It was life itself. And that's exactly why losing it could change everything. Because when food became scarce and winter refused to end, humans were forced to make impossible choices. When survival turned humans against each other, imagine you've spent days hunting across frozen land. Your family hasn't eaten, your fire is almost gone. Then, just as you finally find food, another tribe appears. They're just as hungry, just as desperate. Who survives? Archaeologists have discovered ancient human skeletons with broken skulls, stone weapon injuries, and signs of violent encounters. These discoveries suggest that conflict did happen between some prehistoric groups, not because humans loved violence, but because survival left them with almost no choices. Sometimes, there simply wasn't enough food for everyone. One successful hunt could decide which family survived the winter and which one didn't. But even in that brutal world, scientists discovered something incredible, something that made humans stronger than mammoths, stronger than wolves, and stronger than the Ice Age itself. It wasn't bigger muscles, it wasn't better weapons, it was something far more powerful, working together. Think about this for a moment. A mammoth could weigh more than 6 tons. A cave bear was several times stronger than a human. Even a pack of wolves could easily outrun a person. So here's the mystery. How did humans survive in a world filled with animals that were faster, stronger, and deadlier? For years, scientists believed the answer was better weapons. But archaeological discoveries revealed something even more surprising. Researchers found skeletons of prehistoric humans with devastating injuries, broken legs, crushed hips, even fractured skulls. The shocking part wasn't the injuries, it was the healing. Some of these people survived for months, even years, after injuries that would have made hunting impossible. That raised an incredible question. How could someone who couldn't even walk stay alive during the Ice Age? There was only one logical answer. Someone carried them, someone shared food, someone protected them, someone kept them warm. In other words, humans survived because they learned something almost no other species had mastered. They survived together. While one group hunted, others protected the fire. Some repaired tools, others cared for children and the injured. Knowledge was shared. Experience was passed from one generation to the next. And slowly, that cooperation became humanity's greatest advantage. But even teamwork had its limits, because nature could still push people into situations so desperate that even today, scientists debate one of the darkest discoveries ever made. The darkest discovery among thousands of animal bones. Researchers occasionally found something unexpected: human bones. At first, nobody thought much about it. Ancient camps naturally contained human remains. But when scientists examined some of those bones closely, They noticed something disturbing: fine cut marks, the same kind of cuts left behind when stone tools were used to remove meat from animals. Even more surprising, some human bones had been deliberately broken in almost the same way as the animal bones found nearby. What did it mean? Scientists are extremely careful when interpreting this evidence. Not every cut mark means cannibalism. Some marks came from burial practices. Others may have been caused naturally over thousands of years, but at a small number of Ice Age sites. Many researchers believe the evidence points toward episodes of survival cannibalism during times of extreme starvation. If that's true, these weren't acts of cruelty. They were acts of absolute desperation, moments when every other option had disappeared. It's one of the darkest possibilities in human history, and a reminder of just how unforgiving the Ice Age really was. But despite all that suffering, the Ice Age left humanity with something unexpected, something that still shapes your behavior today. The Ice Age ended thousands of years ago, but your brain never completely left it. Have you ever wondered why sitting around a campfire feels so peaceful? Or why people naturally gather together during disasters? Or why a strange sound in the middle of the night instantly grabs your attention? These aren't random habits. Many scientists believe they're ancient survival instincts. For countless generations, fire meant safety. The group meant protection. Darkness meant danger. Those who reacted quickly survived long enough to pass those instincts to the next generation. And today, thousands of years later, a small part of that survival system is still working inside your mind. Your world changed. Your instincts simply never forgot where they came from.